Hey up, Mr. Josh here, and welcome to video number 4 for listening and understanding. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go into the description of this video where you'll find a link that will take you to my website where you can download a question sheet. In that question sheet, you'll see a link that will take you to a video. Watch the video as many times as you like, answer the questions, and then come back here. And I'll tell you how many questions you got right, wrong, and fill in a few more details that you maybe missed. So here's hoping that this week is not going to be as big a disaster as last week, where everything went wrong. And just to be safe, I'm recording this on a Tuesday. These videos come out on a Saturday, so that gives me, 4-ish days to get this right. So moving right along. This video is from Tiny House Giant Journey, and is all about people in America mostly living in tiny houses, which has become like a whole new movement since rent and cost of living and blah 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 has gone crazy in America, like in most of the world. In fact, even here in Spain, it's ridiculous how expensive it can be to buy and own a house. And this is a subject that's very dear to my heart, because I have done the whole tiny house thing in different forms. I have toured around Europe in a caravan. I have actually done it also in a van by myself. And I used to live on an off-grid property in Portugal, believe it or not. A property that was completely run on solar and wind power. No running water, nothing. It was just basically a brick bunker, as I used to call it. And I used to do my lessons sometimes on Skype, swinging in a hammock underneath an olive tree. No, seriously, I did. So as I sit here now in, where are we? June 2019. I'm trying to scrape together the money to go back to Asia, but if I'm honest, there's a part of me that also wants to go and buy another van and continue my tour of Europe, which I had to cut short in 2018 because of bad weather and a van that was falling to pieces. I'm probably going to go back to Asia because really I just want to get out of Europe. I've had enough of Europe and all the politics and what have you here. Okay, so I have my trusty tablet. Let's get into this. Bus converted into tiny house. Question number 1. Jenna opens the video by saying, in the small house movement there is a big debate, and that's whether you should go with a tiny house or schoolie or renovated bus. What does the word movement mean in this phrase? Okay, so you might have noticed that this has been written out in green, and just under the title I wrote, questions in green are not directly answered in the video, or words to the effect of, whatever. So going forwards from here, whenever you see a question written in green, it isn't answered directly in the video. It's something that you either need to understand or something that you actually need to Google to find the answer, okay? So don't be searching through the video backwards and forwards thinking, he didn't answer that question. So in this case, the word movement is basically like a group of people trying to effect a kind of change, like the current Me Too movement against sexual abuse and what have you. So a movement is just a collection of people trying to effect some kind of change together. Question number 2. Which type of home did Jenna decide to live in? Well, Jenna decided to live in a tiny home, which she does actually sort of go, look, I got a tiny home, yeah? Not a school bus. So a tiny home, the difference being, it doesn't have an engine. It's something that you drag behind another vehicle. It's basically a trailer. Think of like a caravan, but homemade. If you watch her channel, you'll see videos of her talking about her tiny home and all its features and what have you, and how she made it and so on and so forth. The channel is not just about other people's tiny homes, she talks about her own as well. Question 3. Annie and Roman introduce themselves to the camera. What is the name of their school bus? So the name of the school bus is Little Groundhog, and I really like his t-shirt. It says something like, warning, insufficient memory. The older I get, the more that is applicable. I can't sometimes wish I could get like an extra RAM chip to insert into myself to get some more memory. Don't think that's ever going to happen. Not without the aid of drugs or alcohol or something. Question 4. The name of the school bus is also Roman's nickname. Who gave Roman his nickname? Well, that would be his grandfather, not his father. It was his grandfather, who was a long-distance truck driver, which rather oddly is what I used to do when I lived in England. For 15 years, I was a driver, and it was my favourite thing in the world. In fact, it still is driving. If I don't have a steering wheel in my hands, I really don't know what to do with them. That life is over, and nowadays I sit here talking to a camera. Oh God, where did it all go wrong? Weird how life changes, isn't it? Question number 5. What was Roman's main reason for wanting to build some form of tiny home on wheels? So the main reason for having a tiny home is because many years ago when he was younger, he became homeless for a while. And he didn't want to be in that situation ever again. In America, it's very easy to become homeless and poverty-stricken if you lose your job. A lot of people live what's known as paycheck to paycheck, meaning as soon as they get their money, they have to spend it on staying alive. Which oddly enough was a little bit like my life in England. I was working 50, 60 hours a week just for the privilege of going back to work again. Modern day life. Question number 6. Having made the decision to live in a bus, was Annie okay with this idea? Basically, yes. As she said, provided you're with me, I don't care if we live in a cardboard box. Ah, sweet. Number 7. When Roman told a friend of his that he was going to live in a bus, she thought he must be having a stroke. What is a stroke? Well, here's another green question which you just basically need to Google. So a stroke is a medical condition, similar to sort of a heart attack, but not. It restricts the flow of blood to your head. So many stroke victims don't actually die from it, and they end up with like half their face paralyzed, or they have some kind of mental difficulties. So that's why his friend made the joke about, are you having a stroke? You know, what's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly getting this crazy idea to live in a bus? What's wrong with being like a normal person and living in a house? But then, hey, who wants to be normal? Question number 8. How many square feet of living space does the bus have? Well, the bus has 266 square feet of living space, which roughly speaking, according to Google, works out at 25 square meters, which is not so tiny. To put some perspective on this, the place that I lived in Portugal, which I used to call the bunker, was 22 square meters inside, so smaller than this bus. And in Bangkok, I lived for 2 months in a property that was just 11 square meters. So this thing is huge by comparison. I mean, you could have a full-on party in this damn thing. Maybe tiny is not the right word for it. Maybe they should say smallish. Whatever. Anyway, moving on. Question number 9. Who made most of the soft furnishings for the bus? Well, that will have been Roman's mother who made most of the soft furnishings. And if you're looking at this question thinking, what are soft furnishings? We're talking things like cushions, pillows, curtains, all of those sort of things in the house. Anything squidgy and nice to touch is soft furnishings. So a dining room chair doesn't count. Question number 10. What was Annie's must-have item for the kitchen? Right, now I got into a bit of an argument about this with one of my students. I'm going to give you my version and then I'll give you their version of the answer as well. But as far as I'm concerned, Annie's must-have item was a large kitchen sink, because she doesn't have a dishwasher anymore and she just wanted a big sink that she could just throw all the dishes and leave them to soak. She does then add on a second must-have item, which is the coffee maker. But it's not the principal one. The principal one was the sink. So it's the sink first, everything else came afterwards. Question number 11. The bus has mostly full-size kitchen appliances, not the traditional RV miniature ones. Why is this? So Roman's the one who answers this, and he says basically because they like to do cooking and they wanted proper size appliances. Now, RV stands for recreational vehicle, what in Europe we would call a camper or camper van. Now, traditionally speaking, I don't like the way the Americans do conversions. They insist on having the full size everything. But on this one, I am 100% in agreement. I've used these miniature cooking appliances and they are hopeless. The gas ovens just don't get properly hot. The fridges don't get properly cold, and they consume like double or 3 times more gas and electricity than just a regular domestic one. So on this one, yep, I fully agree with him. Go big, it's better. Question number 12. What was the very last thing to be built into the bus? So what they fitted last was the shower, which in fact you should really fit first. If you ever feel the need to build yourself one of these, fit the shower and the kitchen first. Anything that brings water into the bus, you need to do first. Because 1, you want to hide all the pipe work, and 2, you need to make sure that it's properly waterproofed and isn't going to spray water all over the rest of the vehicle. Because trust me, damp, small vehicles are not pleasant to live in. I know, I've been there. Question 13. In many tiny homes, there is either a chemical toilet or a composting toilet. Which do they have in the bus? Well, he says that his one looks like a composting toilet, but it's actually a chemical toilet. Now, if you don't know what the difference is, a chemical toilet is the traditional old camping toilets, and it's like the porta potty things that you see at festivals. Basically, you open a door, you get hit by this smell of chemicals, and there's like a blue liquid that you have to do your stuff into. Those are chemical toilets. Composting toilets have no chemicals, no water, nothing. And it literally works like a compost heap in that it's dry and it rots everything naturally. And you basically have to go there and stir it. Just Google composting toilets if you want to know more about it. It's not the most pleasant of subjects, but hey, it's kind of interesting. Question 14. Roman talks about how they managed to fit all their clothes into the bus. Which of the following did he say? So the correct version is C. We pared down a lot. To pare down basically means to cut away. You might have heard the expression pared to the bone, meaning that something has been reduced to the absolute minimum. That is to pare down. Answer A, pared down, is completely wrong. It's a word that does not exist. It's the word pear, as in the fruit, with ED on it. And answer B, pared, is two of something, like to make a pair. So that was wrong. So the answer was C, pared down. Question 15. Who chose the final colour palette for the bus? So that was Annie, with her obsession to do with Mickey Mouse. So she liked all the blacks and greys and reds. He wanted to go with the modern day teal and orange, which is that very weird Hollywood look. Question 16. What is stored under the bed in the bus? Now, whatever answer you put is probably right, because the answer I put on my sheet is junk, because that's basically what it is. It's just boxes of things, like pretty much everyone has under their bed, apart from dust and empty beer bottles. Actually, I'm probably telling you too much about my life. Just don't worry about that. Question 17. How many TVs does the bus have fitted in the bedroom? In the bedroom, 1. In the bus total, 2. Yes, you're probably hating me right now, but it's only 1. Question 18. Does the couch in the living area fold out into a bed? No, it doesn't. It has storage underneath it, but it doesn't fold out into a bed. Although it says people can sleep on it because it's 7 feet long, which is long. And another thing, to give you an idea of how big this bus is, Annie says that where she's standing, they can put a double air mattress. So that's the size of a regular double bed. So that is a big ass bus. You know, that gives you an idea of how big this thing really is. Question 19. How long have they been living in the bus? So she says they moved in around February 2018, and at the time of the recording, it was just coming up to a 1-year anniversary. So roughly speaking, a year-ish. And lastly, question number 20. Annie says that a lot of people find excuses not to do things. What does she think people should do instead? Basically, Annie says that you should find the reasons to do things, not excuses not to do them, which is very true in life. I meet so many people who, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and then give a whole list of reasons why they can't, instead of trying to find ways of doing it. By the way, did you notice that when they showed the bus from the front, the sunshades make it look like it's got a face? No, I bet you didn't see that. It's got like 2 eyes in the window. Yeah, I like that. Looked like, well, I guess it looked a bit like Mickey Mouse. So, that was another video done. How was it for you? Did you learn anything new? Are you going to go out and buy yourself an old bus and convert it into a camper and roam the world for the rest of your life? Alright, maybe not. It's not for everyone, I've got to admit. You do need to be a special breed of person to want to live like that. But if there's a little bit of you that thinks to yourself, oh, this could be fun, do it. Just do it. Don't find reasons not to do it. Just do it. Because at the end of the day, when you become an old person and you're sitting in a retirement home eating your dinner through a straw, you'll regret the things you didn't do more than the things that you did do. So if this looks like a fun idea, just do it. Find a way. Trust me, it's not as scary as people think. I've done it and I'm still alive to tell the tale. And believe me, I'm no one special. If I can do it, anyone can. So I've got to go off and edit this video. I hope it's going to take me less time than last week, because that was getting really quite silly. And the video for next Saturday will be an interview with Lenny Kravitz. the world famous singer, songwriter and guitar player in his home in Paris. Anyhow, if you haven't subscribed, hit the wee doofer over here to subscribe and maybe watch one of the other videos. Ciao for now.